y'all. Trying to get the laptop and the phone synced together. Give a few folks time to get in here. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try cooking this dish and talking at the same time. I don't know how talented I'm gonna be in that department, but I'm gonna do my best. It's not a difficult dish, so, and I don't know how much you'll be able to see. I don't have a tripod. I'm not a professional at this. Hi, Jenny. And my husband's not here to hold the camera, so we're gonna improvise. I'm gonna move it back and forth around the kitchen as I need to. But the dish I'm gonna make for you tonight doesn't even have a name. I told y'all last week that I would try to do really easy, show you some really easy dishes and fast ones that we do. On the days that I work, I just try to do something super easy for dinner. And so our dinner tonight is one that my husband really likes. He isn't a big fan of chicken Alfredo. But he likes Alfredo. And so one night I had some spaghetti squash and I had some, thank you Christine, I got my hair cut last week in case y'all hadn't noticed, and it's a little bit, it's a little flat today, but it needs to be washed and fixed, and I'll do that again tomorrow. Anyway, I had some spaghetti squash and I had some light Alfredo sauce, and I wanted to use it because it was low point and it sounded good to me. So that's where this dish came from. So I'm going to try to talk to you while I'm cooking, and then I'll get on our subject for the day. Now, keep in mind, I am not Rachel Ray, so talking and cooking at the same time and remembering to look at the camera may not be really good, may not be my thing, but we'll try. So first thing I do is get my skillet heated up, and I put about a teaspoon of garlic in it because, you know, garlic makes everything taste better. And then I'm using the 93% lean ground beef, and I'm putting half of a pound. I cut it in half, and I put the other half back in the freezer because I only need half a pound of it for this dish. It's just the two of us, and so we don't need, you know, a huge amount. And so I just put that in the skillet and get the meat browned. Now, the other thing that I did before I got on the camera is I cooked my spaghetti squash. Now, I know a lot of you roast yours in the oven. I don't. I do mine in the microwave, and all I do is poke, I don't know, I take a knife and stab it about 4 or 5 times all the way around, and then I put it in the microwave, and I cook it for about 5 minutes, and then I check it, you know, to see if it's soft, and if it's not, I cook it for a couple of more, and then I check it again. And I keep doing it every, you know, couple of minutes until it feels really good and soft. Then I take it out of the microwave and I let it cool down for a few minutes so I can handle it. That's why I went ahead and cooked it earlier, because I didn't want you to have to stand here and wait while I was letting it cool down. So I have that ready, but I'll show you in case you've never cooked a spaghetti squash or never seen one. I know most of you probably have, but there might be somebody that hasn't, and this might be a good alternative for you for pasta if you don't want to spend the points on pasta. There are some dishes that I just want pasta, and so I will use my points and have the real thing. But if it's a dish that I can get away with substituting spaghetti squash instead of pasta and have no points for the spaghetti squash, then that's a substitution that I'm happy to make. You have to decide for yourself. Which brings me to one of the topics I want to discuss. Most of you know I'm in the legal profession, and so one of the things that I've had the responsibility for doing over the years is getting people ready to testify, whether it's in a deposition or in court. And so we do like these kind of little practice drills, and I tell them the most important thing to do is hear what you're being asked, maybe repeat it to yourself in your mind before you answer, and then just answer what you were asked. Don't volunteer anything else. One of our practice questions is, I'll ask them, do you know what time it is? And invariably, probably 90% of the people that I prep for trial or depositions will look at their watch and say, yes, it's 4:35. My answer then is always, I didn't ask you what time it is. I asked you, do you know what time it is? So your answer should have been, yes, I do. Sometimes on the board, it's people will ask for input, or they'll ask a question that's limited to a specific number of people. And I'm going to be specific, and I'm not calling anybody out, but this came up on the board today. Somebody posted a question that said, what food item do you take with you into a restaurant to substitute, for what the restaurant is offering? And several people responded they take salad dressing. Some people responded they take crackers into a Mexican food restaurant and have that instead of the chips. And those are all well and good. Those are all legitimate questions. Here's where we got into trouble. Some people felt the need. I'm gonna turn the burner out from under my hamburger meat because it is now brown. And so you've all seen brown hamburger meat. You don't have to see that, but there it is. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over to the sink because I'm going to drain it. I don't want any extra grease on my hamburger meat when I put it in the dish. So I'm going to try to move my camera with me while I'm going. So hopefully it won't fall, but y'all just bear with me here. We'll be patient. And I'm going to try to talk while I'm doing this too. I'm going to try to keep talking. Anyway, some people felt the need to get involved and discuss their feelings on taking food. And I realize that my phone is kind of wonky. I'm sorry about that. Okay, maybe that'll help. Their personal feelings on taking food into a restaurant or, a little fast food place or whatever. That wasn't the question. The original poster didn't ask for your opinion on taking food into a restaurant. She asked, if you take food into a restaurant, what do you take? So that wasn't addressed to you if you don't take food into a restaurant. That's one of those posts that you probably should have just said, that's not for me, I'm going to scroll on by. Instead, we had personal feelings get involved and people kind of got a little snippy with each other and we had to close the comments on the thread. It had nothing to do with the question that was asked or the poster who asked the question. It had to do with everybody or with several people, feeling like they now had the responsibility to be what am I trying to say? People started judging one another, and that's when we start getting ugly, and that's when comments will be closed on post. So here's, we have the little, we have the squirrel thing that some of you post, and I know some of you love it and some of you hate it, and when you feel like you're on a ledge and you need somebody to talk you down, I've seen where several of you will post a picture of a squirrel or you'll just type squirrel. Well, here's one I want to suggest that you use. You don't even have to type it. But I hope that you'll hear me saying this when you feel the need to jump in on a thread and maybe voice your opinion when your opinion wasn't asked for or wasn't welcomed. And that is, you do you. I take salad dressing with me, not into a fine dining restaurant, but into, our little local diner, or if I'm going into Cracker Barrel or something, and I know that I'm having to be very careful with my points that day, I will take a little disposable or throwaway thing of salad dressing. You may think that's wrong of me to do that, and you're entitled to your opinion, but again, I say, you do you, and I'll do me, and then we'll all get along. I'm not going to judge you for what you choose to do or what you don't, and I'll ask that you not do the same in return. Okay, that's the end of that subject. Hopefully we won't have to address it anymore and everybody will understand and we can be friends and move on down the road. Okay, let me drain my hamburger meat real quick. I just get my water real hot and I put the hamburger meat in my colander and I just rinse the fire out of it until I get what I think is any extra fat off of it, because I just don't want that extra fat in there. Okay. I also, before y'all came online, I blanched a little bit of, I'm just getting all of the water off of it. I blanched a little bit of chopped broccoli, and I have put that in my bowl. You can see that. Now I'm going to add my hamburger meat, and I know that my hamburger meat was, when I put it in the skillet to cook, it was 8 ounces, but I want to know for sure how many ounces of hamburger meat I'm putting in my dish. So I'm going to measure it, I'm going to weigh it, I'm going to put my paper plate on my scale, and I'm going to push my tare button because I don't want to weigh the plate, I just want to weigh the meat. Okay, now I'm going to add my hamburger meat. Okay, I have 5.6 ounces of hamburger meat that's going in my dish. I'm going to round it up to 6. You do whatever you want to do. Remember, you do you, but I'm rounding it up to 6, and then I'm going to add that to my bowl. Just dumped it in there. Okay, I have my spaghetti squash. If you've never seen one, this is half of a spaghetti squash. I've already worked on the other half, but I saved half of it so I could show you. And what I do, I don't know how everybody else does it, but what I do is I take a paper plate, I take a fork, and I go through here, and I get that top layer off because that's where all the seeds are. And I just kind of dump that out into my paper plate until I feel like I have all of the seeds out of the way, and that kind of, you know, there's like a little membrane, and you get that out. Okay, this is what it looks like once you got that out. It's gonna fall on me. Then I take my fork, and I just start scraping that stuff out, and that's when it starts looking like spaghetti. And you just scrape until you get it all out, put it in my bowl with my hamburger meat and my broccoli that's already in there. And spaghetti squash has 0 smart points, so I don't have to measure it because I'm not adding any smart points to this dish by adding the spaghetti squash, where if I was using pasta, it would be a lot. That's about as clean as I'm going to get it. It's about as much as I'm going to worry about tonight. Okay, then our sauce is Classico. I know it's backwards, but it's Classico brand light Asiago Romano Alfredo. It's 2 points for a 1/4 cup, and I've got 3/4 cup, so I'm adding 6 points to this dish, and I'm just gonna dump it over the bowl and get it in there, and then I'm gonna work this all together until it's all tossed with the sauce. 2 points for a 1/4 cup is not much, so once I get it all tossed, if I decide that, you know, maybe I need another 1/4 cup, then I'll do that, but I just use my tongs and I get in there and I just give it all a really good toss, and I don't think I'm gonna need any more sauce, except, you know, I just dumped some of this on my laptop. That's just real genius of me. But anyway, we get it all tossed real good, get the sauce all over everything, and this is what it looks like. This whole bowl can be 2 servings at, let's see, let me get my cheat sheet here. If I used 3/4 cups of the sauce, that's 6 smart points. And then 6 ounces of the ground beef, I'm counting for 9 smart points. So I've got 15. If we divided this in between the 2 of us, I would count 8 smart points apiece. There is no way that I'm going to be able to eat half of this, but just for good measure, so that I don't, you know, get myself in trouble, I will count half of it, and I will track in my tracker 8 smart points for dinner tonight. That way I can eat half of it if I want to, and if I end up not eating all of it, you know, I could adjust accordingly. But that's how fast and easy you can throw a dish like that together. You could use chicken if you wanted to instead of the ground beef. Sometimes we do, but whoever said that you can't have beef Alfredo? So you just, you have to get creative and do things like that. Okay, that's my dish. I want to talk to you about honesty. And sometimes we think that we're being honest with ourselves, and we start thinking that Weight Watchers isn't working, when honestly, it's us that isn't working. We're not doing it right. The program is designed to work. It's us that is doing something, sabotaging ourselves, and we have to take a really good, honest look at what we're doing, and that will usually help us find the problem. And once we make those minor adjustments, we'll start seeing the weight coming off again. I worked today at Weight Watchers doing my training, and a lady came in who had been stalled for 3 months. She weighed in every week, came faithfully, and I looked at her book every week. Her weight stayed exactly the same for 3 months. But today she came in and she got on the scale and she lost 5.5 pounds. And I was so excited for her. And I said, "What did you do different?" And she said, "I just kept doing what I was told to do on day one." And she said, "I got frustrated, but I wasn't about to quit because I knew the minute I quit, instead of the scale staying the same, it was going to start that upward climb that had been my history all along." So she said, "This week I decided to really get back to basics," which is what our Revolt Challenge is all about. She said, "I started weighing every single thing I put in my mouth. I accurately measured every single thing she put in her mouth, and then tracked everything, and it worked, lo and behold." But oftentimes what we do when we measure, we eyeball it. Most of us who have cooked for as many years as many of us have, we don't even, measure much anymore. I mean, I can look and eyeball about what a teaspoon of salt is or something. But if you find that your weight is not coming off, your eyeballing may not be real accurate. So I encourage you, if it's not working, if your weight feels like it's stuck and you're not getting the results that you'd like to get those measuring cups out, and don't do heaping tablespoons. You level it off. Don't guess about how much that potato weighs. Stick it on your scale, and if you need to, cut some of it off. Here's what I caught myself doing the other day, and I wasn't even thinking. I was talking to my husband, and I was cutting up our meat for dinner, and I had our plates there in front of us, and I had my scale. So I had pre-tracked that I was going to have 3 ounces of chicken. So I'm cutting the chicken, put it on the scale, and I saw, I had a piece left on the fork, and I looked over and the scale was at 3 points. At 3 ounces. So I knew that's all the chicken I was supposed to have. Well, while I was talking to him, without even thinking, I put that piece in my mouth. And I'm standing there chewing, talking to my husband and thinking, what did I just do? So I took a piece off of my plate that was about the size of the one I put in my mouth and put it in the trash, because I'm not going to sabotage myself with those silly little things. There's a guy that has a blog, and many of you follow him, called Fat Dag, and he talks about even tracking your Tic Tacs. Many of you have discovered that your vitamins have points. Your breath mints have points, your gum has points. So if you're not tracking those, you're not being honest with yourself. So getting frustrated at the scale isn't the culprit. The scale isn't the enemy. It's those mindless things that are going into our mouth that we're not accurately tracking. One of my favorite sayings is, our body tracks accurately whether we do or not. So if you're seeing the results on the scale, or if you're not seeing the results on the scale that you want, it could be that your body is being a little bit more accurate with the tracking than you are. So take a good, long, hard look at it. I encourage you to do that. My Weight Watchers leader has a rule, and from the day she shared it in class, I thought it was so brilliant, and I've used it so many times. It's the 3-bite rule. When there's something that is tempting you and you want it, and you just feel like, I just got to have it, or, Halloween is coming up, and we're going to have Halloween candy everywhere. So here's the 3-bite rule. Yes, vitamins, Lisa, especially the gummy vitamins that so many are using. Sadly, they do. You have to check the nutritional value on everything. Otherwise, you're going to be cheating yourself in the long run. Okay, the 3-bite rule. The first bite is to taste it. The second bite is to decide. The first bite. I'm sorry. The first bite is to decide whether or not you like it. The second bite is to savor it, enjoy it, taste it, let it stay in your mouth for a minute while you chew it and realize how good that is that you're eating. And then the third bite is to say goodbye to it. So after your third bite, give it away. Move it off your plate, move it away from you on the table, give it to somebody, send it back to the kitchen, do something. But after the third bite, you're done. So get rid of it. Now you haven't deprived yourself of that dish. You've allowed yourself to have 3 bites, and you need to track those 3 bites. But you didn't eat the whole thing. So if you go out to eat with friends and they order cheesecake and you just feel like, well, I don't want to sit here like a bump on a log and not have any, let yourself have 3 bites of it and then ask them to move the cheesecake to the other side of the table. I can't imagine that your friends would not be willing to do that. I certainly would if somebody I knew, sitting at the table was trying to have some discipline and they asked me to move it away. I would be happy to do that, and I would imagine most people would too. That doesn't mean that that you have to just do without. Weight Watchers is not about doing without and not eating. And it breaks my heart to think of anybody feeling like to be successful on this plan, you have to stop eating, because that's just not the case. You just have to choose wisely. My product this week is, my husband the other day wanted some cookies, and I've tried several different recipes for good cookies that are low points, and just haven't found the one that I like. And I really didn't have time to make any, so I ran into Sprouts and found these, and they're not cheap. I'll be honest with you, they're not cheap, but they're good. The brand is Isabella's Healthy Bakery. And I don't know where else you can get them. I've only seen them at Sprouts. I'm going to look and see if you can order them online. But they have peanut butter. They're no sugar added. And then they have let me get it over here. He tore the label open in it. He was so excited. They have a chocolate chip that's sugar-free. Let me get one of them out so I can show you about what size they are. Okay. Let's see. That is one of the chocolate chip ones. There's my hand for reference. So it's about the size, about the size of the palm of my hand. They're moist. They're really good. They're 5 smart points for 2 cookies, but they're pretty good sized cookies. And if you just feel like you need one, or maybe you're going to have some friends over and you want to put some cookies out and you don't want to cook them yourself, but you want something sweet out there that you can have too, that's a good option. I think it was about $4 for a box of, I think there was 8 or 10 in there. Let me see if it tells me. 8 of them. So $4 for 8. Like I said, it's not cheap, but they're good. And so I can recommend those. Okay, let me see if I can look at some comments real quick. Pam Williams says, what helps me is rating everything. 1 to 18. Anything under 18, I will never eat again. It has to be yummy. I think that's great. I saw the other day, I can't remember who posted it, that they took their points value. I think this is a brilliant idea. And they made paper money. And so, like, if you had 30 points, you would give yourself 30 $1 bills. You use Monopoly money. I think you can buy it at the dollar store. And she actually has to spend her money for her food. For instance, she would look at these cookies and decide, are 2 cookies worth $5 to me? If they are, she takes 5 of her $1 bills out of her little budget envelope and spends it. If not, then she decides, I'm keeping those $5 in my point envelope, and I'll find something less points to spend my money on. You figure out what works good for you. Like we started on the program, you do you, and you let them do them. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, find something that does. The name of the cookies again is Isabella's, Isabella, Isabella's Healthy Bakery. And again, I found them at Sprouts. I don't know where else. Trader Joe's may have them. I'm not sure. I'll look. I'll do some looking and see if I can find them. But they're very good. Let's see. Marjorie says drink more water. I'm a firm believer in drinking water. I guarantee you, the days that the scale is up when I get on it are days that I didn't drink enough water the day before. My body just holds on to the weight unless I flush it out with the water. So I encourage you. Janice found the website. It's isabellashealthybakery.com. And so we'll all have to look. Was the Alfredo sauce warmed up? It will be. When I made it, normally when I cook it at night, we eat it right then. And so I put it over the hot spaghetti squash and over the hot hamburger meat. But right now it's not so, when we get ready to eat dinner, I'll dish this up on our plates and heat them in the microwave and get it good and warm, and it'll be ready to go. And then we're going to have some strawberry pie for dessert tonight for 0 points, and I'm excited. I see some of y'all getting brave and trying some different flavors, and please share those with us when you do. I love it. I'm so excited that I can have what feels to me like a piece of pie, and it doesn't cost me any points at night. So please share with me when you try a different flavor and let me know. How many fruits a day do you have, and how many vegetables? I limit my fruit to 2 servings a day because of the sugar. Remember, just because it's 0 points doesn't mean it's unlimited and free. You can overdo it on 0 point food. It's possible. Maybe I'll figure out a way to prove it to you. It's possible to eat the entire day on 0 or low point food and gain weight. Logic just tells us that you just can't live on 0 point food and lose weight, especially if that 0 point food is high sugar fruit. The whole reason that Weight Watchers made it 0 point was to encourage us to eat that instead of a Snickers bar. So I limit my fruit to 2 servings a day. I cut up a bunch of fruit and put it in a bowl. Strawberries, blueberries, cherries, grapes, and I put it in a bowl, and then every morning when I pack my lunch to take to work, I take up about a cup of that out and put it in a sandwich bag and take it with me. And I'll munch on that. And then at night, we'll have the pie that has, blueberries or strawberries or something in it, so I get some more then. Vegetables, I eat as many vegetables as I can get in. This morning, I had a BLT for breakfast, and it had lettuce and tomato on it. And then at lunch, I had some raw carrots and some raw cucumbers. And then tonight, I'm having spaghetti squash with the broccoli in it. So, I think you'd have a harder time eating too many vegetables than you would too much fruit. Rosemary the strawberry pie is the most ridiculously easy thing in the world. It's embarrassing to call it a recipe, but basically what it is, and I covered this last week, is just slicing up some strawberries or whatever fruit you're going to do, put it in your pie pan. I take a box of sugar-free Jell-O, a small box. For my strawberry pie, I use strawberry flavor, but you can use whatever you want to. I add 1 cup of boiling hot water to dissolve the Jell-O. I know the box says to then add a cup of cold water. I don't. I just add the 1 cup of hot water, and I pour that over my berries in the pie pan, and then I put that in the refrigerator until it sets up, and and then I slice it like a pie. And I think I have a little bit left in my refrigerator that I haven't eaten yet. Let me get it out. See, slice it up like a pie. That's what it looks like. If you have the points and you want to put some fat-free Cool Whip or you know, some kind of whipped topping on it, great. I eat it without it. I just cut a slice and put it on a, you know, a little dish, and that's what I have at night, and it's 0 smart points. So I feel like I'm getting a dessert. They don't have the cookies in New Hampshire. I'm so sorry, Lisa. If I was near you, I would send them to you. I don't limit my vegetables, Karen. I eat as many vegetables as I want. Now, starchy vegetables are different. Potatoes, I don't have a potato every day. We usually eat a sweet potato a couple of times a week. If I'm going to eat a white potato, I make sure it's the red new potatoes. And if I'm having a potato with my meal, I don't have any other starch with it. I don't have any bread or any vegetable that, you know, that has any starch. Usually if I have a sweet potato at dinner, I don't have anything else other than my protein with it. Normally if we have a sweet potato, it's like a piece of chicken or a piece of steak or something and a sweet potato, and that's it. I don't put anything on my sweet potato. I used to be one of those people that put butter and cinnamon and sugar, and I thought the people who ate a plain potato were crazy out of their mind, and I couldn't do it. And now I am one of those people. I don't put anything on my potato. I think it's sweet enough. My husband will sprinkle a little bit of cinnamon on his every now and then, but I like it just the way it is. Catherine says she made the pie the other day, made a double batch, and her husband loved it. I love it. I think it's great, and it's just a really good alternative. It makes you feel like you're getting pie without having to spend the points. I think that's about it. I think that's covered a lot for today, and I don't want to keep you any longer. Again, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you being there to support one another on the board, and I just encourage you to keep it to support. Nobody is on the board asking for your criticism, and none of us want to be criticized. So if you don't have anything positive to contribute, or you don't have something to answer their question, then I encourage you to keep your opinion out of that particular thread, and we'll all just be happier in the long run, and everybody will get along much better, and I won't feel like my day is spent trying to referee. I do enough of that at work with the attorneys that I work for, so you know, somebody, I don't know who it is, says ain't nobody got time for that, and some days that's what I feel like. But anyway, I appreciate y'all so much. I'll have the video posted up again here in a little bit, and then tomorrow morning I'll get it on YouTube. Have a wonderful evening. Make your points count. Be honest with yourself, and you do you. Talk to you later. See you on the board.